All right, I recorded this video once and I didn't like how it came out. It's too long and rambly, so I'm gonna try to make it more concise this time. But essentially, there's a lot of 996 content on YouTube, but I don't feel like all of it is fully representative of actually going out and buying a 996, except for maybe Seen Through Glass. He's done a pretty good job explaining, like, this is what you're getting yourself into. So, if you clicked on this video, you're probably either considering buying a 996, or you just like Porsches, or you just want to hear me talk, which I don't understand, or you already have a 996 and you're looking for some confirmation bias, which I don't blame you. Hey, we all do it. As you guys know, I own a 996 Generation 911, and I can say nothing really negative about it. Even the things that break on it, which are like headaches upon headaches upon, like, oh my god, that's expensive. It's fine to me because at the end of the day, when I'm driving that car with the windows down and listening to it, like, just reverberate off of whatever is around me, nothing beats the feeling of like shifting gears in that car and revving it out. I don't care what car you have, or how fast your car is, or what mods you have on your car. There are little driving experiences that compare to driving a 911 of any generation. I'm gonna tell you why you should buy a 996 before you can't. And I'm also gonna tell you some of the realities of if you are getting yourself into buying a 996, because, you know, it's fun on YouTube to be like, oh, I bought this car, I'm gonna buy this car, I'm gonna go out and search for this car. And it's fun to go on auction websites, but there is a reality to buying these cars, and I'm gonna go more in depth on that in another video. Yeah, I just wanted to make a more conversational video on why you should actually go out and buy a 996, and not just because of like 5 reasons why it's fast or 5 reasons why it's fun, because there's so many videos that already cover all that stuff and all of the things that can go wrong with it. The reality is, most 996s that are for sale today have had their IMS bearings replaced and retrofitted or upgraded in some ways. I mean, I'm sure you could find examples of people who haven't gotten theirs done blowing, but you know what? It is what it is. Most 996s for sale, or especially on auction, have had their IMS bearing done. In that process, they've probably also gotten a new clutch and their RMS done too. So most of those headaches are just kind of out of the way now. The real problems that you're probably gonna actually have to worry about are solenoids going. That's like a $250 part from FCP Euro, and like maybe, I don't know, $300-400 labor. Not too horrible, but solenoids will probably go. The VarioCam solenoids on there gum up over time and have to be replaced. It's not something you have to do often, but it's something to keep in mind. The coolant hoses can come undone and leak and stuff, and those aren't horrible to replace either. I mean, most repairs on this car are gonna be under $1,000, but you'll probably, if you pick up a 996 for any price, will have to do a few repairs. They're not gonna be Ferrari repairs, but they are gonna be a little painful. Also tires. I mean, if you're gonna go in and buy a 996, I would recommend, and I'm not an expert, so don't like take my advice completely as if I know everything I'm saying. I would put aside like 30 grand. That should pretty much cover anything that can go wrong in 5 years. Another reality is insurance. These you can get classic car insurance for and insure them for well under $1,000 a year. I have classic car insurance on both of my cars. I mean, for the same price as a 996, you could go buy a new Honda Civic and insure it for twice as much and have about 1/30th of the fun. Because another thing is, if you're going to buy a 996, you probably don't care about numbers. I mean, the water-cooled 911s are way faster than the air-cooled 911s. That's just a fact. You know, there's reasons people go buy those air-cooled engines though, because even though they aren't that reliable, leak oil everywhere, need to be rebuilt way sooner than the water-cooled engines, there's an experience there. That's what counts, you know? And that's why you should go and buy a 996, not for speed, not because you want to be able to catch up with something, because you probably will. You should buy it because it weighs less than 3,000 pounds and has over 300 horsepower. That's the ratio that should make you buy it. I mean, that alone, you know, should tell you. You know, most of them for sale are pretty well sorted. But yeah, I would say no matter what you pay for it, set aside 30 grand just in case, because yeah, tires are expensive, gas is expensive, insurance can be expensive if you don't have classic car insurance. and you're probably gonna have to do like a solenoid job. If the timing belts and chains and, you know, water pump and everything hasn't been done, you're probably gonna have to do that. Coolant expansion tank is way more expensive than it needs to be, and that probably will have to be done if your expansion tank starts leaking, which they do. And you're definitely gonna wanna keep in mind having to switch to thicker oil at some point, because as these engines age, the bore scoring happens. That's a real thing. The bore scoring pretty much happens to almost every single M96 engine, and a lot of M97 engines, probably just as much as M96 engines, because just the way they're built, the cylinders kind of turn into ovals and then get scratches on the bottom of the passenger side bank. And it's fine, it happens. And the good thing is, for like $9 grand, you can rebuild your engine with steel lined cylinders, and that will never happen again. Or obviously, if you're gonna have it rebuilt, you have so many options, most of which are floating around 10 to 20 grand. Anything above that is like for a full track spec engine, or if you want to put a Metzger in it, which they have their own problems. But yeah, I mean, compared to air-cooled engines, the frequency of rebuilds and the expense of rebuilds on those engines are way more expensive than they are in the M96 engines. And the good thing is, like, companies like LN Engineering and even independent Porsche racing shops, they all have their solutions to the problems that can arise on these cars. And the good thing is, with thicker oil, you can still drive with bore scoring. I mean, obviously be careful. Don't take your car to the track if it has bore scoring that's so bad that you're hearing a knocking at every RPM. It's just, at that point, just get the cylinders relined. I know that's easier said than done because it is expensive, but even if your car doesn't have bore scoring, you should probably budget potentially, or just keep in the back of your mind, I might have to pay for a rebuild at some point, because with any performance car, like E92 M3s, they need to be rebuilt. Could be false, don't hold me to it. But yeah, I know the air-cooled models, all of them pretty much have to be rebuilt after a certain amount of miles. The M96s usually can make it to around 150,000 miles without having any problems with bore scoring or needing a rebuild or anything. But you know, that's something to definitely keep in mind, because bore scoring is a huge problem. You could read all about it. Flat Six Innovations has a whole, I mean, Jake Raby has a whole YouTube series on bore scoring, how it happens, you know, how it's dealt with, what it causes other problems with, and how to hold off your engine until you can get it rebuilt. You know, that's a big thing to keep in mind. But the good news is they're appreciating. They're appreciating super quickly. And this is kind of the last thing I wanted to talk about, besides just like the experience of once you own it. If you look at the appreciation in the first month of 2021, it's pretty substantial. In the past 5 years, I mean, they've gone up, but now they're starting to really go up. And classic.com, you can see all of the recent sales and what cars do well and what cars don't do well. But a nice sorted 996, especially in a cool color, is an over $30,000 car at this point. And that's just where they're headed. You know, I mean, you look at the C4S, they're trading almost in the 50s now, and the turbos are in the 60s and 70s, and the GT3s are in the 80s to 100, even some are over $100,000 for a 996 GT3. And I think that's where they should be. I think they should be going up, because they might not be as fast as a 997, but people in the Porsche community get over things eventually. You know, they got over the impact bumpers. They got over the leaky oil in the 964. You know, these flaws become reasons that people actually go out and buy these cars. I love the 996 headlights. I don't care that someone driving a Boxster has the same headlights as me. I just don't. Because it's still a Porsche. I don't know why anyone would care about that. 944s had impact bumpers on them. No one was like, I don't want to drive my 930 turbo because a 944 also has impact bumpers. Like, the GT1 had the lights. I mean, look, there's so many videos about that, but it doesn't matter. Bottom line, the cars are appreciating. Big YouTubers, like over in England, like TGE and Seen Through Glass, he has a 996 now, and there's a reason for that. It is a phenomenal car. The experience of driving a 911 that weighs, I think my car weighs around 2,800 pounds, and with the exhaust on it, it has like 320 horsepower. It's just like a go-kart. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. And the more modern ones are like heavier and bigger, but like a really rev-happy 3.4 Carrera 996 is an experience worth all of the price, probably worth more than the prices that people are paying for them right now. There's really not gonna be a car like that ever again. So the ownership experience of it, no matter if it's broken or not. As long as you can drive your 996 at the end of the day, that's the stuff that you're like, I don't care what I paid. I mean, as long as you know for sure I can afford this car, the experience of ownership is just insane. You're in a fantastic community. You have access to the single greatest dealerships pretty much in the world. You have access to track events, to communities. It's just, if you're thinking about buying a 996 and you know you can, do it, because now is the time to get into something like that. And that's pretty much all I have to say. I hope this was informative to you guys. I hope that I may have persuaded people to buy them, or I may have enlightened people on why they probably aren't in the right place to buy one right now. I mean, if you can, you should, because otherwise your repair funds are going to be eaten up by appreciation. So I'm just glad that people are appreciating what these cars are, because they were underappreciated for so long. I could go on. You've heard it all before. Enjoy the beautiful weather. I'm doing a Q&A, so put your questions below or wherever you want. I made a community thread where people can ask questions. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, camera.